Okay, our speaker today is somebody who we all know and love and always pokes us in those tender places that we would not prefer not to get poked, but we appreciate him anyway. It's Timber Hawkeye.
That was terrible, but thank you. I don't know. I don't know where to start. As you know, I always show up not knowing what's going to come out of my mouth, but this month, Brian sent an email ahead of time letting me know the whole month had a theme. And I wish I could have attended every Sunday to hear everyone else's perspective on the concept of understanding. But this month, I send out an email once a month, and surprisingly, my topic for the month was letting go of the need to know. So in some regards, it's like the opposite of understanding. I've been trying to figure out where to start. I spent a big chunk of my life studying what people believe and why we believe what we do. Not just religion, but your prejudices, where did you pick them up? And more importantly, why are you still carrying them? Why we behave the way we do, and why we believe what we believe. And at the end of the day, it turns out it doesn't matter what you believe, because your beliefs don't make you a better person, your behavior does. We all like to think of ourselves as good people. I'm sure Hitler thought he was doing the right thing. I'm sure every person who's ever done anything that someone else deemed bad thought they were doing the right thing. And one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. So instead of studying what people believe, I shifted my focus to try to understand people's behavior. And that was short-sighted. There is no logic or rationale to people's behavior. And so while I agree that we are trying to understand, I think there's tremendous benefit in understanding that some things can never be understood. I don't know if that makes sense, because the reason for our frustration and fighting and arguing and wars, it's not because we don't understand one another. It's because we think we can. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, there's so many books out there and gurus and self-help books about here's what you need to do in order to be happy. And I don't think that's really beneficial if we don't simultaneously cause our anguish. Because you can do a gazillion things that make you happy, but if you're still doing things that make you miserable, they cancel each other out. I don't know if that makes sense. So my focus shifted from, instead of, oh, here's what you need to do to be happy, because I think the pursuit of happiness itself causes so much suffering. But if we just paid attention to what's causing us dis-ease and stop doing that, our natural state perhaps is complete bliss and joy. And letting go of that need to know, and I'm putting need in quotes because we don't need to know. I don't know where we got the idea that we have to understand everything. I don't understand everything. Thank God, that sounds exhausting. I don't need to know how a microwave works to trust that it does. Someone understands it, and that's great for them. I don't know if that makes sense, but even if we spend a lifetime trying to understand, okay, let's take me for, or any man trying to understand what pregnancy is like for a woman, you'll never understand. You'll never know. I don't think any two women can even compare their pregnancies, because every experience is so unique. It's so individual. It's as specific as the different fingerprints we all have. And when we had this discussion this month about letting go of the need to know, I think sometimes when you talk to someone, and I know social convention dictates that when someone tells you something that they're going through, some difficulties, some challenges, we are inclined to say, oh, I know what you're going through, or I feel your pain. But what I got back from everyone is that they actually hate it when people say that to them, because it diminishes your own experiences when someone claims to know what you're going through. Even if they went through something similar, they're not identical. And so we can reflect back to the other person and say, it sounds like you're in a lot of pain. It sounds like you're in a lot of discomfort. I'm really sorry you're experiencing that. But at no point go beyond that and say, I understand, because we don't. There are things that, and I don't want to knock on religion because it has played such a serious role in my own life. But when I moved, I think it was the second monastery that I lived in. It was a Buddhist monastery, Soto Zen. And what was challenging for me, and you may have heard me speak about this before, was that there was no mention of God in Buddhism. And I often equate it to someone who really loves to dance. And so you go and you find a dance school and they're doing hip hop and you're like, this is so great. What about ballet? Oh, we don't do that here. What about jazz? We don't do that here. What about modern? We don't do that here. We just do hip hop. And you're like, yeah, but I just love dance, tango, everything. So then you go to another dance school and they do ballet, but they don't do hip hop. They don't do modern. And so I try to find, because I just love the mystery of it all the different flavors. And when I said to one of the elder monks at the monastery, he's like, how do you like it here? I said, I love it, except I really miss talking about God, the great big mystery of it all. Like, it's fascinating to me. And he laughed and he said, what do you think emptiness is? And if you've studied Buddhism at all, the main focus core of it is the concept of emptiness. And the best explanation I've heard of emptiness is that everything is empty in that, like a piece of paper. There is no piece of paper. A piece of paper does not exist. A piece of paper is the culmination of air and rain and trees and water and time and people who grew it and cut it. And you know what I mean? Like, if you take one of those things out, there is no piece of paper. The piece of paper is interconnected, interdependent with everything else, and so are we. And so when there is that magic that puts it all together and creates it, we don't know what that magic is, and religion calls it God, and Buddhism just calls it emptiness. So it's just a placeholder for a question mark. And many of us are just really uncomfortable with uncertainty. We want answers. We want to know. We want to know where we came from. We want to know where we're going. We want to know what we're supposed to do while we're here. But we also don't want anyone to tell us where we came from, where we're going, and what we're supposed to do while we're here. So it's this really interesting tug of war between, I need to understand, but what if you realize one day, or someone tells you one day that, like, you will never understand? And I think that's what occurred to me after years of research and studies. Like, wait, I'm looking for something that I will never find. Now, if I continue down this path, I'm going to create my own suffering because I'm looking for something that doesn't exist. Now that I know it doesn't exist, why keep looking for it? What if I embrace the mystery instead of trying to cling to a known outcome or just say, I don't know, and I don't need to know. And immediately that felt so liberating because I wasn't busy doing, I was just observing with not absorbing. I don't know if this makes any sense at all. I don't know if you could ever get someone to the point of letting go until the moment they are ready to let go. But I think that I'm trying to remember the example we used in San Luis Obispo this month, was if you were blindfolded and walked into a room that was completely pitch black as well, so even if without the blindfold, if you put your hand in front of your face, you can't see it. So you're entering a completely dark room, and someone tells you it's a huge room, that somewhere in the room there's happiness. Would you go looking around for it? And what if they told you, but there's also roses and thorns and barbed wire and electric wire, and would you still go searching for happiness? Or what if someone told you, maybe there's happiness in this room, maybe there isn't? Would you still go looking for it? For how long? When will you stop? When will you just sit there and go, well, this is interesting? I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. Someone said, well, what if there's happiness, but there are also scorpions? And so we feel the need to know. Now, feelings are not facts. So immediately when I feel something, I go, okay, this is data, it's information, but it's not conclusive. It's just a feeling. Same way as information is great, but it doesn't have any feeling behind it. So it's a combination of both that gives us a clearer picture. I'm going in circles, but I'm trying to get to, I know that compassion and empathy go a long way. I read everything you sent in the email about the importance of being there for someone and showing up and knowing to some degree. No, we can't. I can't even finish that sentence. I can't know to any degree what someone else wants. I can't assume that they want to be hugged, to be loved, to be seen, to be heard, to experience pleasure and avoid pain, because pain for one person is pleasure for another. It blew my mind the first time I heard of someone who doesn't like avocados. I mean, talk about thinking there's one universal truth. I thought that was it. But there is no one universal truth. There's 8 billion of them. And that could either be terrifying if you are on this mission to know, or it could be so liberating because you're not looking for one thing anymore. You're saying, well, that's true. Oh, well, that's true too. And that's true, and that's true, and that may not be true yet, but it will be, or that wasn't true yesterday, and it is now, and it's all true to someone somewhere, and I don't need to know. Now, where religion comes in for me, and I'm using the term religion loosely, is the concept of faith. I don't need to know, but I know that when I release that need, when I let go of it, and I say, that's not for me to figure out. That's for God, or emptiness, or the universe, or spirit, or whatever. It's for lack of a better word, it's delegating it out. You know, just like that's someone else's responsibility. I don't need to know how the universe works. I don't need to know where we came from or where we're going, or I don't need to know. I just need to show up, like Brian said, woke up this morning, and that childlike thing that you mentioned. Because when I took the monastic vows and gave up the life I had before, and my dad tried to understand, because we're always trying to understand, and I, in turn, tried to explain to him what I was doing. I got him all these books to read and everything, and he came and lived with me, and he experienced it, and he's like, it's different than if I was perhaps studying, I don't know, to be a doctor, and I would show him the books and go, well, we're studying the human body, the human mind, and all this stuff, and how illnesses work, and viruses, and how our body reacts, and immunity, and I can just like show him data. But the books I was showing him, and the practice of Buddhism, the practice of letting go, he realized I can't show him anything because I'm not trying to learn anything new. I'm trying to unlearn everything I picked up since the age of 2. And he laughed, and he's like, you're just trying to be a little kid again. And I said, of course. when we were little kids, we didn't care about whether the other person is black or white or skinny or tall or what. Can you play nice? That's all we cared about in the sandbox is, can you play nice? That's it. And he of course laughed at me because he can't go back to his friends and say, oh, my son is studying such and such. He's like, my son's trying to be 2 years old again. He gets it now because he stuck with me over the years, and I witnessed, and I work a lot with people in prisons. I work a lot with people in recovery, and it's mind-blowing to me when we try so hard to grasp either knowledge or we're attached to outcome, anything that makes us white-knuckled. It just creates our own anguish, our own suffering. So that's where God comes in for me. And when I feel exhausted or spent or ready to give up, I do give up in the sense that I give it up to God. And I said, you take it from here. Like, this is the extent of my knowledge and experience and know-how, and the rest isn't up to me. So why am I trying so hard to control a river that's gonna go where it's gonna go? I don't know, does that make sense at all? When I asked, it's so tempted to do this here because everything I do everywhere else is a discussion, not a talk. And so it's so hard to not get feedback. So I'm just going to relate back to the feedback I've gotten on this discussion, 3 discussions about this topic this month. What is it? Why are we so reluctant to let go of the very thing that we know causes our anguish? And it's because we're, in a sense, choosing the better of 2 evils. Meaning, if we are so terrified of the unknown, if we get some sense of comfort from being in control, then we will try to control that which cannot be controlled because that is more familiar to us than just allowing, surrendering. Did that make sense at all? Okay, surprised. So the people named the reasons why they're doing what they're doing, again, anything from fear to trying. And that's the role that God plays for me, is it removes the fear and it reassures me that something much bigger than me is in control. Not in control as in like intentionally doing things, but would you get on a plane if you don't know where it's going? I would. No? I absolutely would. That's so exciting to me. Because that's trust in God, universe. It's not even trust in myself. One of my favorite quotes is that a bird sitting on a branch in a tree is not scared of the branch breaking because her trust and her faith is not in the branch, it's in her own wings. And I like that, but that also puts the trust in me. Now, when there are things that are outside of my control that I will never understand, and I know that I will never understand, that it doesn't matter how many years and how many people I ask or how many questions or how long I spend, I will never know the answer. I will never know what it's like for a woman to be pregnant. I will never know what it's like to be a woman. I will never know what it's like to be another man even. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I will never know what it's like to be anyone else. 2 people can go through the exact same experience and come out completely different on the other side. My sister and I grew up under the same roof. None of our childhood memories are the same. And this is true not just between siblings, but spouses and all the people I talk to behind bars. Their experience in their cells is so individual. No 2 people going through similar ailments or experiences come out the same way. And so I trust that I understand as much as I need to. And the most important thing I think that I want to add to the conversation, if it hasn't been added yet, about the concept of understanding, that it's imperative to understand that some things will never be understood. Does that resonate or register at all? Is that fair to just release it to God and just say, okay, you take it from here?
Yes.
Yeah. Because I don't know if it was online through the inspirational reading or whatever, there was a saying that jumped out at me about something, everything will become clear, or complete clarity, or clarity will bring me peace. And it's so easy to understand that means, oh, once I understand it, it'll become, I will be at peace. Like, but what if it becomes clear that I'll never understand it? To me, that brings me the same level of peace. Because let me tell you, even if you get on a plane where you know where it's going, flights are often rerouted. And if you're okay with it, you're going to have a fantastic day. Our lives are often rerouted. We have no idea what's going to happen later today. Brian was trying to schedule me for like 2-3 months from now. I'm like, dude, I have no idea where I'm going to be next week. Like, I can't. It is so difficult. Even this month, you were asked, and I didn't tell you until I think 2 weeks ago. I was like, yes, I'll be in town. There's so much talk in Buddhism about letting go. And we can talk about it, we can sing about it, we can read about it. But I encourage you to practice it, to truly, in whatever avenue makes you extremely uncomfortable, like going out to lunch and just tell the waiter, surprise me. You know, something like just some, she's like, nope, no, not gonna happen. I don't know if it's a byproduct of a lifetime of realizing that some of the most incredible things in my life happened when I let go of control rather than when I tried to control. When I've been more often pleasantly surprised than the opposite, whatever that is. So when it comes to understanding, I think, but I don't know, and I love not knowing, that it's in the trying to understand that we miss the point. That in our search for certainty, we overlook the beauty of uncertainty. And the moment you think you find something that you know to be true, you've missed it. Because it's only true for you right now in this moment. The example I used in my email was, you can never touch the same river twice. Because visually, I'm such a visual learner. Even if you're standing there and you touch the river and you stand back up, and then you touch the river again, that's not the same river. You're not the same person you were when you first touched it. That water is not the same. That river is not the same. My friend likes to say you can't read the same book twice. And boy, is that true. Because the second time you read the same book, you're not the same person you were the first time you read it. So it's different. So that is the extent of my understanding, is knowing my limit, knowing that this is as far as I can understand something or someone. The notion that anyone can understand anyone is mind-blowing to me. And knowing what the limit is isn't depressing to me, it's exciting, because the rest is up to God. And she hasn't failed me yet. And I have no reason to think that one day she might. So that's where this interesting intersection of Buddhism, which is all about letting go and understanding the interconnectedness of everything, intersects with my concept, my understanding of God, of emptiness, that everything is interconnected, including God, meaning whatever force is pumping my heart right now is pumping yours, and neither one of us has any control over it. We can't decide when it's going to stop, or how long to keep it going. And even if we try really hard to keep it going after it stopped, like we're done. Like it's not in our control. I love that. Go to a restaurant. If you don't trust the waiter, have someone who's with you say, "Order for me." Close your eyes and just put your finger on the page. I don't know. Do something that makes you uncomfortable so that you get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Because this need to know comes from discomfort with uncertainty. But if you get comfortable with being uncomfortable, uncertainty becomes exciting. I think life is exciting. It's a movie no one can tell you the ending of. If someone told me how a movie ends, I wouldn't want to watch it. So I'm here every day because I want to know where this goes. So thank you for trusting me to bring. I was so reluctant to talk about understanding because literally, like, I read everything and it was all about the importance of understanding, and I'm like, no, understanding is what gets in the way. Unless we understand that there's some things we can't understand, then I think we're okay. Does that make sense? Awesome. Thank you.